everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, we have George Johnson joining us. And I have to say, his story, I could not get enough of it. And I'm definitely going to have it back on the show again. So here we go. So welcome, George, to the show. So excited to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Got you. Well, I'm George Johnson. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, inner city, a small city. I don't know, you've never ever been there, but it's the typical hood demographic and dynamic. So everything that comes with that, from the poverty, the drugs, everything that comes with that. But basketball was what kept me out of a lot of stuff. Still just being from where I'm from, I got into a lot of different things that I never saw coming. But basketball was able to, take me around the world. I was able to go to school. After school, I had opportunities to go play professionally, but life didn't work out how I dreamed it to go. And I entered into entrepreneurship early, but definitely after school, I really hit it hard. And my story is kind of wrapped around about, no matter how far I got away from home and all those demographics, the court system and just my family was able to unfortunately pull me back. And, I dealt with a crazy scenario over the past 4 or 5 years. And that's what led me to write my book.
Oh, very cool. So what is the book about?
My book is about, it's named Double Crossed. And it's about my 2 oldest brothers. I'm the baby of 5, but
5. Wow.
My 2 oldest brothers got into some trouble with the federal government and took the route of putting me in a situation to help themselves out. So they both turned into federal informants. And both of them had situations where if they would work with the federal government against me, they would help themselves out, and they chose to. My book kind of goes into detail, just the mental component that I dealt with, how it tore apart my family, how, I don't know what was the root of why they made the decision, but it was either jealousy or just, hey, it's me versus them, and they chose to take the route of, working with the federal government to help themselves out. The end of my book, I kind of just shine light on just the mental component that, a lot of people, especially in my demographic and where I'm from, we don't talk about just the mental stress and the anxiety and the PTSD and just, being hurt and just expressing yourself in that kind of way. What the kids do now, or people my age, are popping pills and smoking and just drinking. And I just kind of shine light on just the therapy I had to start going through, and I still do to this day.
Well, that's a great segue to get to our main topic of the show. So tell us a little bit about this anxiety that you've experienced and just all these mental components.
So not to give everything away in this interview, because I want people to go buy the book.
Yeah, this is the perfect way to get people into. I'm already interested. I already want
to. I practice on that. Like, how can I make people want to still get the book? I never dealt with any mental health issues. The irony is that I own 4 mental health companies. That's the caveat, right? So I own 2 mental health companies in Virginia, where I'm from. I own one here in Houston, and I just opened up one in St. Louis. But I never saw myself as a patient or someone that needed services. But in the midst of just this journey of fighting for my life, in the midst of fighting the federal government, I basically, one day, I work out a lot, and so I figured out that I went to go work out one day, and I warm up on the bench press, and I couldn't lift the bar. And so basically, I thought I was just like, maybe I needed a snack, right? Like, I went and took a snack and came back, and I literally couldn't do it. And I started going down this journey of like, what am I going through? And really what it came down to was I was depressed. And, what that mentally, I was just done. I wasn't physically tired, but just mentally I was just burnt out. And so I just started realizing everything I was dealing with just internally, and I never had figured this out. And so I just figured out that I was depressed, and then I started dealing with anxiety at a high level to the point where my body had just started going through these. It felt like ants was going through my whole body when I would deal with any kind of stress on any kind of level. And so therapy is what I had to pivot to. But just to be honest, I had started drinking a lot just to cope with or just get away from my current state. And I just realized that I was struggling with something. I had to get help.
Yeah. So that's a really great point that you bring up, is that a lot of people, as they start to feel depressed or anxious or whatever problem they're going through,
Mhm.
they do go to alcohol or sometimes drugs, whatever it may be, and they're using it as a coping mechanism, which
Right.
technically it is, but it's a negative coping mechanism, right?
Exactly.
Because all it does is release a whole other slew of potential problems.
Right. And what on the back end of my story, what made me want to just share my story and just turn everything I went through into a book is because I'm still connected to all of my younger guys back home, my younger nephews. I get jail calls every day, just me being like a big homie or like a older influence on a lot of people, and all of them are popping perks every day. Um, they drinking every day, abusing drugs, and it's kind of like, man, y'all, I know what y'all doing. A lot of them are dealing with crazy scenarios, being shot at, what comes with the streets, and they just abusing these things to get away from that, just mentally for that moment. But
Yeah.
the long picture and the long thing is like that's killing your body in the meantime, and so it's not really worth it if you really look at down the road, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because at some point that stuff going to catch up to you. And so therapy, that's not something we kick around, we chilling and watching the game and talk about what we going through and like, hey man, you should go to therapy. That's not nothing in my demographic or in my
Yeah.
what we talking about. And so I knew that my influence that I had on where I'm at, just because what I look like, right? Like anybody that see me look like, oh, he's this type of person. But like me sharing this kind of alternative method would be somehow like, oh, okay, I knew that I can have people listen to me and like take a look at how I was dealing with what I was dealing with.
And that is so important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I really appreciate that you're trying to make that way for other people to look
Right,
at you and say, I don't have to go down this route.
right.
There's something else that I can do. There's
Yeah.
help out there. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty interested to hear more about these mental health businesses that you run.
Got you. So, when I got out of school, I had an opportunity, like I said, to go play professionally across seas. But I was in a crazy incident. I had went home. My best friend had graduated, and we went out of there. I was a month out from going to work out for my agent in Las Vegas for 5 professional teams across seas.
Wow.
And we went out this night where I was back home in Richmond, and I had kind of left the pack. And just to be honest, I had went down the alley to go use the bathroom on a drunk night, and 5 guys ran up on me at gunpoint and tried to rob me.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and then just a panic, I fought my way, and luckily I didn't get killed, because they had a gun.
Yep.
I got out the situation. I immediately got out of town and went back to where my school was to train. And what happened was I tore my thumb, my total ligament in my thumb, to the point where I could take my thumb and touch this part of
Ew,
my.
ew, 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 ew. Yeah. Sorry.
And
Nope.
so I had to. My trainer there at school had to rush me. I had to have surgery, but it was a 2 month process that I had to be in a cast. So I missed my opportunity to go work out and go
Wow.
play professionally. And so I entered right into the workforce, and I started working at a mental health company doing the billing and payroll.
Oh,
And
okay. What did you go to school for?
I went to school for business. My
Okay.
major was business, and my minor was accounting.
Oh, okay. So perfect.
Right. And so I was kind of like there. I kind of started off with just like punching holes in papers and just handing stuff off, but I was there to learn how to do the billing and payroll aspect. But while I was there, I learned how to run the whole company from A to Z, every component. And uh I actually was like, hey, I don't want to be like this little position. I want to own my own company. So I saved up my first $20,000 and found a consultant to open up my first mental health company, and it took off. I started one, I started another one, had an opportunity to come to Houston. Then I had another person that wanted me to expand the business to St. Louis, and boom, I'm here.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah, I do a lot of other things now because once I got into business, I rehab properties. I buy distressed properties and fix them up and sell them.
Okay.
I do that. I have an entertainment company. I own a makeup company as well.
Oh, makeup.
I have
We're
a
gonna need to talk more about that.
right. My girlfriend. She's one of the artists on the entertainment company, and we had to attach a product to her, so we started a makeup company.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I own a website that sells urban clothes. So
Wow.
me and one of my best friends, we own that. So
So the better question is, what don't you do?
no, right. It has came to that. And so when it came to coming around, I went through my situation and making a book. It was kind of I already had the business mindset behind, getting it out there
Yeah.
and those type of things because I'm in business.
That is so cool. And I really want to point out to people who are watching, who are listening right now, that you didn't start in a community that was
No, no, no.
possible, right?
Where I'm
Like
from,
that wasn't a thing.
where I'm from, you play sports to hopefully get out, or you sell drugs.
But
Yeah,
you,
the best job you get is to work at the post office or like Philip Morris, which is like a plant. So where I'm from, that's like your options. And if you get to be a mailman or like work at the plant, you like made it as far as you can.
yeah. So it's so nice that you're sharing, because there's more out there.
For
We
sure.
don't have to keep those blinders on and only look at what's right in front of you.
Right.
So that's really important. And it's not to say that it was easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all.
Sounds like you struggled a lot.
Yeah, a lot. I remember like it was yesterday having $600,000 in my bank account, and I spent all of it fighting the federal government. I spent nearly $500,000 just on lawyer fees and restitutions and everything like that.
Wow.
I remember losing it all 3 times, like all my money, to the point of almost being kicked out of where I was living and getting it back. So the struggle of just dealing with where I'm from, because your family is your family, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and your friends are your friends to a certain extent, but just dealing with just the dynamic of where I'm from, of just it's like crabs in the basket. You could get out,
Yes.
people just pulling you back in. And my situation was just literally my blood brothers, the people I looked up to, the people that I wanted to be growing up, pulled me right back into the same demographic and dynamics of where I'm from, no matter how far away I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you go about breaking free from all of these crabs trying to pull you down?
The truth of the matter is, I went about not being scared to leave home, taking a risk in business, because in any opportunity, I don't know how you got started, but you had to take a risk.
Mhm.
You had to invest some money in yourself. You had to learn some stuff you didn't never know. You had to be
Mhm.
uncomfortable. But I was always willing to take a risk if it was to separate me or get me away. But I think one of the biggest things that I did was my junior year, I left my home school that I was in and went to a private school, a prep school, far
Okay.
away from where I was from. And so it put me around a demographic of kids that made me uncomfortable, and I wasn't used to being around, but it started pushing me away from where I was from. And I started learning how people grew up, and like
Mhm.
different kids. My prep school, a lot of kids was from cross seas. So my roommate, when I got to school, was from India. And so
Oh, that's cool.
I went from the inner city hood dynamic to like now I'm waking up, and now this kid is from India and he's sharing where he's from and how things will go there.
Yeah.
So that was at an early age started pushing me away from where I was from. And I was there just to play basketball. I got a scholarship to go to a prep school
Yeah.
because of my skill, how good I was. But it just, I was willing to leave my home school. I was the man. I knew all the girls. I was that right? But all my friends was where I'm from, but I was willing to like leave there and go to this prep school and not come home for a year and just be uncomfortable and just figure it out.
Yeah. I think that's really important for people to understand, is that you have to get out of your comfort zone
For
in
sure.
order to make this progress that you want to make.
Right.
Like, just this show in general. Now, people who know me will say, oh, this is not out of your comfort zone. I love talking and being a friend. What I don't like is the administrative part. That part is out of
Exactly.
my comfort zone. The
Exactly.
telling people, no, you can't be on the show because you don't fit what the show is about.
Right.
Right? Like, I've had some people, they want to come on, they want to share their story, but they're not authors.
Right.
And as much as their story might be great, I need to keep in mind that this show is for authors.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that's outside of my comfort zone. I don't like saying no. I want to say yes to everybody, and that's not possible. So it's
And
not the same as leaving home, but that idea of getting out your comfort
it's still in the gist, because think about a lot of people that want to hop out there and take this risk or do this. It's gonna be some component that they're not comfortable with. It doesn't matter
Exactly.
what you're doing. So it still aligns, and it's still the same principle of like, it's a component that you had to be like, I have no clue. This makes me uncomfortable, but I gotta do. This is my dream. This is what I want to do. So I gotta figure it out.
Exactly. And the other big part is just sharing my story, because whenever I do these interviews, yeah, I'm interviewing you about your story, but if something comes up and I feel the need to share part of mine, yeah, I'm gonna tell people about it, because they need to know too that even the host has mental health, even the host has depression or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the truth is, we all living through some crazy times now, right? Everybody probably
Yes.
got some level of anxiety,
Yeah.
because we don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah. Where I live, we just locked all the way down again.
Exactly right. That at any moment. So we all living with some kind of level of anxiety. It's just, some people got way more than others.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of coping skills have you learned along the way, and what do you use?
So therapy helped me a lot, and like I said, it's totally crazy, and the irony for me to be a owner of mental health companies,
Yeah.
and never saw myself as a needing the services. Now for confidentiality, I couldn't use the clinical staff that worked for me, but so
Yes.
I found other people with those credentials outside of my company. But what I've done is I'm always go go go. I'm always the ringleader of everything around me. I'm the
It shows through all
I'm
of your companies.
right. So I'm the guy. So I bottled up a lot of stuff, and so just what led me to writing a book. I didn't even seek out like, hey, I'm gonna write a book, because I'm not an author. And to be blank with you, or be honest with you, I had never read a book from start to finish. Now I have read passages like, hey, read this chapter or this, that, and
Yeah.
the third. I had never read a book from start to finish until I did my book, and that sounds crazy in itself. But how I wrote my book was, I needed a way to just express myself. So I started just writing down things that I never had shared, how I felt about this, um, you know, how did I handle this, like, and just like, man, how I really felt. And I looked up and I had a whole notebook of just stuff that I had went through over those past 5 years.
Yeah.
And that led me to finding somebody to help me compile it, a ghostwriter, to
Yeah.
like, hey, we're gonna take all these things and put it in a book. And when I read my story and read everything I went through with the ghostwriter, he was like, "You got a crazy story,
Yeah.
and since you got the mindset to put this together and push it in all these different means, you could do this." And so that expression myself, writing those things down, led me to like, man, I want to just start doing therapy. And so the therapy aspect started opening me up with like, man, you need to start taking at least 30 minutes a day to just sit down, remove yourself from everything, and
Yeah.
just, how are you doing? What are you dealing with? And so talking to someone, a professional, on how to look at things, how I could decompress and share emotionally, because I never realized that, I'm the confident guy, right? Like, I never, even my girlfriend or my mom or my friends, I never would express like how I feel about stuff. I'm always like, all right, that's cool. Come on, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Until I got to a fork in the road where I just broke down and I needed a way to just express my stuff. So expressing myself, or just like think, or even talk about things that hurt me. Nothing never hurt me. That was the exterior
Yeah.
that people would have of me. But in beyond, the truth of the matter was, a lot of stuff hurt me.
Yeah.
Um, but I just kept going and going. So to answer your question was, every day I make sure I take 30 minutes to just put my phone down, disconnect, and just like what am I going through? How do I feel about this? And I go to therapy every week, once a week.
Yeah.
And so that's how I handle what I'm going through.
That's really important. That
Yeah.
so I've said it in other episodes. Some of them have already been released, some of them are soon to be released. But
Mhm.
I've said it before, is that you need to find somebody to talk to. You need to, share, and it doesn't make you weak. What I find really fascinating about interviewing you is that, so growing up where I'm from, it's when I was really little, yeah, therapy wasn't super talked about, but now it's just common. So many people, they go to therapy, they talk about it. It's
Right.
not as stigmatized as it was. But
Yeah.
then I talked to somebody like you, who came from a community where that was just like you said, that was not a thing.
It's a sign of weakness. Like, so, I
Yeah,
grew up in the street mindset. You can't show any weakness because you got a lot of enemies and you got a lot of people that's trying to hurt you. So showing any weakness will, make you susceptible to being hurt. And so you live with this kind of exterior, like, I don't care about nothing. Like,
yeah,
nothing hurt me. I don't care. You do that, I don't care. Like, and we
yeah,
got to keep moving. So like you said, demographics and communities is a big component because
yeah,
my makeup, even when I'm 5, is like nothing hurt me.
yeah,
Nothing. I don't care. And so, but the truth of the matter is we still human. I don't care what community you're from, that stuff hurting you. But like to
yeah,
get through where you're from, you handle it in a certain kind of manner.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that because I can say it as many times as I want, but hearing it from somebody else who the demographic, like I said, is completely different, it's a whole nother voice saying it for people to
Right.
listen. So
For sure.
guys, I'm not lying.
Right. Yeah. And I
Right?
mean, I'm gonna be honest. I grew up like I don't care. Like I don't care what they do. Like that ain't hurt me.
Yeah.
Like like I ain't worried about nothing. Like I ain't scared about nothing. But when I got older and I got confident in myself, because that's really just an insecure space to be in, like to just
Yeah.
say like, nah, I don't care about anything. But I'm sure of myself, and like anybody that know me know that like, nah, he's not a weak guy at all. Like that's a man, and don't play with him like that. But so once I felt secure with myself, it's like, nah, like that really hurt me. Like I'm really that pain that really upset me. I'm really hurt, and that really damaged me. So I'm
Yeah.
secure in myself to say that.
Yeah. And that is such a good point too, because, and I even say it in my latest book, Embracing Me, is that I kept seeing my depression and as a weakness. If I asked for help, I was weak.
Right.
What you were saying, right? But what I've come to realize, and you just said it perfectly, is that you're not weak. You are a way stronger person when you can admit that something has hurt you.
That's a fact. That's a fact for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely for sure.
So, what is the name of your book? I mean, you've talked about it a bunch, but what's the name of it?
It's double crossed.
Yes,
And
you did say that once, but we got to
yeah,
repeat it. Yeah.
and that was a decision. Clearly you kind of see now. I went through with both of my brothers, so that's how we came up with the double cross. But the book, and I'm the last person, well, not probably not the last person, but I'm not the Bible, that the story that we developed out is loosely off the story of Cain and Abel. And that's the
Okay.
story in the Bible where the older brother killed the younger brother out of
Yeah.
jealousy and whatever the case may be. And so it's loosely off of that, and you kind of can see the parallel
Mm-hmm.
in that story. But double cross is, it stems from both of my brothers basically crossing me and doing what they did.
Yeah. And where can people find this book?
It's on Amazon. So if you type in George Johnson Double Cross, I have a paperback and I have an ebook. I'm setting myself up to do the audio book, which is going
Yes, I'm working on my first audiobook right now too. Are
to
you doing the audio yourself, or are you getting somebody else to do it?
that. So when I started diving into that situation, figuring out, I saw people let people do their audiobook, but I wanted to be as most authentic as possible. So I'm gonna do my audiobook.
That was my thinking too, because my book is my story, just like yours is your story. So I
Right.
thought it's got to be my
You
voice
gotta be
for
my,
my
you
story.
gotta sound like me. You gotta like have my slang with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's gonna be me.
Oh
It's
yeah.
gonna be me.
That's all. Now I'm wondering, should I read it or should I wait for the audiobook? Because sometimes, like, I love audiobooks that are true stories and it's read by that person.
Right, exactly. And
And
it's rare. It's rare to find someone that actually did their own book, especially on the high.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And from talking to you right now, I can tell that I would enjoy listening to that,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
some people, there's some audiobooks that I'm like, no, return.
Right.
But
Exactly.
there's so many books in the world that I don't have time to sit down and read them all, even though, I want
Exactly.
to. But
Yeah.
I have to walk my dogs every day. I got 2 dogs. They have to go for their walks.
Right.
If not, they're jumping around all day. So I'll put on an audio. If I don't call my aunt, I'm putting on an audiobook.
Right.
So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I
I
should wait
gotta,
for the
yeah,
audio.
I gotta get that done for sure, for sure.
Yeah, because now I, as well as everyone listening right now, super interested in hearing your audiobook version too.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
And I will be putting the links down below so that everybody can find your book on Amazon as well. I want to find you on social media. Where can we find you?
It's crazy. So I had an Instagram and a Facebook just like everybody else, but part of the journey that I went through with the federal, they took everything away from me. So I've just recently made a Instagram account. That's where I kind of build a lot of energy from, and it's 2x cross. So the number 2 X crossed, and that's where you can find me. And the Instagram that I got going right now is dope. I put clips of my therapy on there.
Oh,
I have
cool.
reenactments of what I went through. So like literally things that was going on. During this 5-year time period, my phone was tapped and I had all these recordings. Right. Yeah.
Keep talking. I'm getting you. You keep talking.
Yeah.
Fill the show.
I had all of these recordings. So I actually have audio of like me and my brother's conversations of me asking him like, why is he doing this? I have recordings of him and my mother conversations. So it's dope, man. I'm doing a lot of different things on there. Exactly. Right.
There you go. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There you go, everybody. So make sure, and the link will be in the description.
For sure. And so something different that you're not seeing on Instagram. Real therapies. I do Instagram live talks every week with clinical staff. So we actually have a candid conversation in front of everybody about just anxiety and PTSD and how to build trust again. A lot of dope stuff that my demographic, we're not having those conversations on Instagram. You either got the rapper, or the girls dancing, twerking, and all those type of stuff, right? Yeah, that. And so you get to my page and it's like, okay, this is different. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh, I'm excited to check that out. I had to do it. And yeah, everybody, link in the description. Be sure to follow him. Very cool. Right. So unfortunately, we have to start wrapping up. I feel like I could keep talking to you. Maybe we got to get you back on the show another time because your story is huge. So this is very cool. What would you tell somebody that is going through some struggles right now, but they have that same problem as they don't want to seem weak. They don't want to show any kind of weakness. So what would you tell them?
I'll tell them it's so much strength in just expressing yourself. Like, and I used to hear that type of stuff. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. That sounds corny. Like that ain't, that's whack, right? Yeah. But when I got to the position where I got comfortable enough to just express myself, so whatever the case, writing it down, like I told you I did, or finding a therapist, it was so much strength in that. And it actually helped me get past all of the different mental health issues, or helped me begin the journey of getting past all of the anxiety, the depression, the PTSD that I was dealing with. So it gave me a strength that I didn't even know was on the backside of even expressing myself. And a quote that I use throughout my book is becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. So
I love it. Say it one more time for everybody.
I became comfortable being uncomfortable. And how I would break that down is that I have figured out how I'm at in whatever state or where I was at, it was like I'm the most uncomfortable. Like, what if I figure out in this moment how to get comfortable instead of running away from it, right? Instead of I remember just dealing with everything I was dealing with. It was like I'm at the lowest I could possibly be, like right now, emotionally, financially. But what if I could just get comfortable in this moment right now? Like take a hold of this moment and be like, I'm gonna be okay right now. And so it's a quote that I just always had in my mind, and I kind of live by right now.
Wow, that's fabulous. I cannot wait to read your book. I am very hooked,
I appreciate
and hopefully everybody else is too. And I definitely think that you got to get back on the show because we didn't even talk about any of your PTSD or anything like
it.
that because there's
Definitely.
so much to share, and I really really appreciate your honesty.
Definitely. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm excited. I looked at a lot of other stuff that you did. I was excited. I woke up early today. I'm prepared for this. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I definitely come on anytime.
Wonderful, thanks.
Thank you.
What did I tell you? An amazing interview, so much fun to talk to, and just blew my mind with all of the different things that he's doing. So many businesses, and now being an author. And I know he said, "Well, I never considered myself an author." Well, guess what? You are now an author officially. You need to start calling yourself an author. Um, of course, hit his links up. Be sure to subscribe. I've already done it because I was so blown away that I had to do it right away. So be sure, grab your phone. Most of us are doing it on our phones. And be sure to follow him on Instagram as well. Hit that like and subscribe button. Show the show some love and share it to everybody because we have a serious message that needs to get out to the world. So let's do it. And remember that the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.